Alright, I've already completed my project, but this is your assignment. You're going to be creating a cup with a handle using the revolve technique and for the cup part of the mug here, and then the sweep technique for the handle. So I'm going to start this project over, and this is going to be a condensed version of this. I'm going to try to make it faster. So this is the goal here in mind, that I wanted to kind of recreate this shape. You could come up with your own design. You could find a mug that you want to copy or try to emulate online. But I just found this image and imported in here just to show you kind of visually what I'm trying to copy. So I had a bunch of reference lines here, but I'm just going to freehand this. And I also have a bunch of layers. So however you want to organize your project, that's up to you, but I would advise you to kind of stay organized in case you want to isolate a specific layer and hide the other ones. You could create multiple layers. I created a cup layer, a handle layer, a 3D cup layer, and a 3D handle layer. And if I wanted to, I would create one more that would be just the finished mug layer. So I'm going to do this in steps and copy my work over so that I retain my original drawing. You don't have to necessarily retain yours, but it's always good if you want to modify later to keep kind of steps. So what I'm going to do first is I want to create this outline, and what I'm aiming for is just half of the mug. I don't have to do the whole thing. Just starting at the half point, I'm going to trace just visually the outline of this mug. To do that, I'm going to use the line tool to get started, and what I'm going to do on my 0 layer, I'm going to turn it on first, which is one that you have as a default. I created a couple of lines here that are just reference lines for me. Since I'm trying to create a specific shape, I use this picture and reference to some lines. So this is the line from the bottom over to the edge, the midpoint, and then this is the midpoint out to the edge at about where the Starbucks label is. And then I did a midpoint out to the outer lip to just give a rough shape. Using these points, I can use to create an outline. So I did a little bit of work ahead of time. You could freehand this, but I advise you to just kind of stick to a plan. And if you want to use straight lines, there's parts of your cup that'll have straight lines, and then on this there's a curved line, which is something that I would like you to use in this exercise as well. So a curvy line like this is going to be created with the Spline tool. And there's 2 modes to create lines with Spline. If you hover over the tool, it will give a good description there. And you can either draw a spline with control or fit points or control vertices. And I will show you the difference in just a second. So I'm going to start modeling using these reference lines, and I'm going to be on my cup layer. So with the cup layer on, my first couple lines are going to be straight lines. So I'm going to use my line tool here, and I'm going to click. This is going to be the midpoint of my cup. I'm going to click there, and this will be the base. So that's my base of my cup. And you want to make sure you have a wide enough base so when your cup is full of liquid, it's not going to topple over. Just keep that in mind when you're designing your cup. Alright, and then I'm going to step up just a little bit here at a steep angle. But it's not a 90 degree, it's kind of angled out. And then I'm going to step over at a little angle here, just a little bit. If these reference angles are bothersome to you, like these snapping points, you can temporarily turn them off down here. So polar tracking is the one that really snaps to those lines. So with that off, I can more easily freehand. That's a better way to put it. So I'm just going to give a little detail here. I'm going to zoom out to show you what I'm trying to create. So there's this little jut that comes out of here. So it needs to be a little bit longer. After you make a line, if you want to elongate it, you can just simply click on it and you get these stretch points. So I'm going to click on that point and then stretch it out. Okay, that's a little better. I just want a little detail there. So this next line is going to be created with the Spline tool. It's a curvy line. So I'm going to click on the Spline tool, and then it wants to define a starting point. I'm going to snap onto the end point of this line. And then the way this works, I'm just going to create a crazy line here to show you. But it starts to create a curve, and the next point that you would click controls kind of the shape of the spline. So let's just say I wanted to click out here and then go way over here, make this nicely weird shaped cup. Whoops. Alright, so there's a nice spline. So I don't want to keep this line. I'm going to start over. If I hit escape normally in a line tool, it would keep your line. It would just be done with the line tool. With the spline tool, if you press escape, it will not save any of your line. So to accept this line, you have to press enter. I'm not going to. I'm going to press escape, and it's going to remove the line completely. Alright, so there's that. Now I'm going to be more realistic in my approach here and create a nice curve for my cup. So kind of want to go over, and I'm actually going to go outside the bounds of my guideline here. Maybe I'll click right here, then click again over here, and then end it here at the snap point. And again, I don't want to press escape because that will undo my line. I want to press enter. Alright, so here I have a spline, and if I select it, it has retained these points here. These are called stretch points. Actually, they're fit points. So you can stretch your fit point, like change its location, by hovering over one of them till you get those arrows, and then you would actually just click that point and then move it away from the origin and then click a different spot. So that's an easy way to adjust these. So I'm going to make an easier adjustment here. And just to show you the difference, if this was created with the other method of creating a spline, which would be using control vertices, this is what it would look like. So down here, once you have a spline selected, there's a menu that can be found in this down arrow. I'm going to change to control vertices instead. Now with control vertices, the vertices follow the line, but they're not on the line, and these are kind of like gravitational pulls that you can grab one of these and pull it away, and it kind of has a gravitational pull. It pulls the line that way. So each of these have kind of a gravitational pull on the line, and you can use that to kind of edit the shape. I personally like to use the fit points instead of the control vertices because it's a more exact placement. But this, I don't know why someone would choose this, but I guess you have a little bit more freedom in creating more natural looking curves with the control vertices. So I'm going to undo all of that. Go back and change this to fit points. And I'm going to edit my shape a little bit. If it doesn't do what you want it to do, you may need to zoom in to the point, because it may snap right back to the place it was before. Alright, that's a pretty good shape. Move this one up a little bit. Alright, so what if you made your spline and you didn't give yourself enough of these fit points? You want to add, more curves to your shape. Or maybe you added too many, and so it's really hard to adjust it to make a smooth, continuous line. You can remove them really easily by hovering over it and then select Remove Fit Point. That's easy. Getting rid of them is easy. Adding a fit point is also easy, but you can only add them in the order that you drew the line. So if I want to add a point between these two, I would actually hover over this point and choose Add Fit Point. And it will add one in between those 2 points. If I wanted to add one in between these 2 points, and I hovered over here and said Add Fit Point, it's not going to allow me to have it in between those two. It wants these two. So it's following the order of the line that you selected. I mean, the way that you clicked, in the order that you clicked to make the line. So if you want to add a fit point, you choose the point before. So between these two, I'd have to choose this one and add a fit point, and then click somewhere over here. And there's a lot of stuff it's trying to snap to, so you may want to turn your snaps off. So there's a nice shape. I'm going to undo all that. Get back to my original shape here. So once you get the outline the way you want it to be, I'm going to hide my guidelines here. This is another reason why it's good to create separate layers, so you can hide the stuff that you don't want to see. So here's my outline, and if I revolve this, it would be a surface because there's no thickness to this, and you would not be able to print that. So what we want to define is what is the space here. There will be an inner cup surface and there will be an outer cup surface, and in between would be all the solid material. So what I'm going to do first is join all these lines together. And then I'm going to offset. And I predetermined the distance that I want to be 4 millimeters. So I'm going to choose 4 and press enter. And the object that I want to offset is this line. And I'm going to drag to the inside and click. Now this created separate line segments, which is actually nice because I don't know that I want to keep this detail here on the inside. I kind of want more of a smooth inside surface. So I'm going to delete these 2 lines here. Whoops, I'm already in the offset. I gotta get out of that. Escape. Delete that part, and I'm going to delete this part. And I think there's a little tiny piece in here that I'm going to delete as well. And then I'm going to offset this, not offset, but I'm going to change the location of this. And see, this is this transformed into control vertices, and it is a spline. Even though it looks like a straight line, it's a spline. that is made up of control vertices. So first thing I'm going to do is select this line and change that to be fit points. And now I can see that there's extra fit points in here. I'm just going to remove this fit point. And then I'm going to drag this over just a little bit. And I'm going to use another spline to kind of join these two lines together. So I'm going to go to the Spline Tool, click there, click here one time, and then click at the end point, press Enter. So now I have a nice smooth surface on the inside. Now this could be a little bit of a thin point here, so I'm going to edit this again. I'm going to grab this and change that to fit points, and then I'm going to move this point up somewhere, like over here, if I can. Here we go. Nope, doesn't want to move. Let's move it way over there for now. And then I'm going to move it back about right there. So I'm starting a curve inward, and now I'm going to just delete this. Whoops. Just want to delete that port. And then now I'm going to connect the two with a spline. There we go. So there, I retained approximately 4 millimeters between those walls. So I don't want a thin part there. So that's why I changed that. And if I wanted to, I could make this more curvy, but for now we're just going to leave it like this. So the goal is to get a cross section of what your cup is going to look like. And right now this is open-ended, so this is not going to be able to create a solid. So I want a nice closed shape. So this is where I could determine how I want the lip of my cup to look like. So I don't want a squared off lip. I'm going to drop this edge down a little bit. So first I'm just going to move it out of the way. Then I'm going to grab it again and move it slightly in and down. And then I'm going to grab the Spline Tool again and just make kind of a rounded lip here. Enter. There we go. Now the bottom of the cup is not closed, but we're going to use this axis to revolve around, so when it's revolved around there's no gap. There will be no gap open here, so you don't really need to close this shape. You just need all of these lines to be joined together. So I'm going to do the join command, select all the lines that I have so far, press Enter. Alright, now I'm done to the point that I would need to revolve this cup. So I'm going to, at this point, make a copy of this. You don't necessarily have to, but I'm going to anyways. So let's go ahead and copy, select that object, copy it from this point, and then I'm just going to drag it up here somewhere. I don't have any snaps. Let's do 250. Alright, so here's my cup outline, and for my handle I'm going to use the Spline Tool and I'm just going to freehand, but I want to be on my handle layer. Then I'm going to grab the spline and choose any point on the outside. So if you want to snap to any point on a line, you could do Shift right click, choose nearest, and I'm going to start about right here. And then again, I'm freehanding, so I'm going to turn the polar tracking off. And I'm just creating my own custom handle shape here. So I want to end it nearest, say about right here. Enter. So here's my handle shape. I zoom out just to make sure I like that shape. I want to may want to just have this angled down more, so I'm going to add a fit point. Click here. Oh, they removed it. Then I'm going to Shift right click, nearest, and then have it snap somewhere around here. Move this over this way a little bit. Something like that. And I don't really like this fit point, so I'm just going to remove it. There we go. There's a nice little shape. It may be a large handle, but it'll do for now. I'm just going to maybe move this in a little bit. There we go. Alright, I'm liking that shape. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is determine what shape you want to sweep along this path. So what I want to imagine is a cross section of this handle. So is this handle perfectly round, like it was bent out of, like a pipe? Or do I want it to be like a cross section, an oval shape? Or do I want it to be really squared off like a rectangle? That is up to you to decide. I'm going to choose an oval shape, so we'll be using this ellipse tool. And to get a reference of size, I'm going to snap it to the handle somewhere. So there's a snap point here. I'm going to turn my polar tracking back on. Okay, there's a snap point there. There's a midpoint somewhere. There we go. So for an oval, it's almost like a rectangle, but you're drawing it out from the center. So it's a width and a height measurement. So I'm going to click here for how wide I want it, and then about like this for how tall I want it. So this is just a cross section of it, and this could be drawn anywhere on the page. It doesn't have to be right on the handle itself. I'm just going to move it out of the way just to show you that it doesn't have to be connected. I'm going to move this from this point out somewhere over here, random. And what I want to do is sweep this path with the shape. So before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and copy everything again, because if something goes wrong, I want to retain this work. So I'm going to press Enter, copy all those things from this point, and let's just go over 200. Alright, so I'm going to sweep on the solid tab, choose sweep, choose the object that you want to sweep, which is this oval. I want to sweep this oval, enter, along this path. And I'm going to orbit to see what happened here. and it swept the wrong way. So it's 90 degrees off from where I want it to be. So I wanted the thin part to be showing from the side, not the thick part. So I'm going to undo, and before I sweep, I know I need to rotate this 90 degrees. I could remake it, where the long way is going this way, but I'm just going to rotate it. So on the Home tab, there's a Rotate button. Choose the object that you want to rotate, press Enter. Specify the base point from where you want to rotate it from. I want to rotate from the center, and then you could choose the degrees of rotation. I want to rotate 90 degrees. Now I'm just going to try sweeping again with that same shape. So solid, choose sweep, choose the shape that you want to sweep, press Enter, and then the path you want to sweep along. Alright, so this is what I wanted to have happen, where the thin side is viewable from the side. That's what I wanted. So we have a problem here. This handle is going to terminate outside of the cup wall, which is not going to look good, and it's just not good modeling here. So I could change the shape of this before I sweep it, like go back a step, change the shape to go inside the cup more, or I could just grab this object and move it inward just slightly so that the whole handle is inside, like it terminates inside the cup. That's good. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is revolve my cup shape. And to do that, I'm going to switch to my 3D. Actually, while I have this selected, this is my 3D handle. So I'm going to click on that and go to the Home tab, move that to the 3D handle layer. And now I'm going to go to the 3D cup and do my revolve on that layer. So what you want to do is make sure that this is all one solid line before you sweep it, or not sweep, revolve. Go to the Solid tab, choose Revolve, and click on your outline, press Enter, and then specify the start point of the axis is going to be either one of these points. I'm just going to click the bottom point and then connect it to the top point. And then you want to specify a complete rotation of 360. Enter. And now I have a solid handle and cup that I can view in 3D, and the handle, in my opinion, it looks a little bit small and a little bit dainty. So that's kind of trial and error. From this point, I have kept my spline for my handle and my shape for this very reason. So if I want to go back and change the dimensions and add some thickness to my handle, I could change the shape of my oval and then sweep this same path again, or I could even change the path if I didn't like the shape of the handle. So those are the reasons why it's good to sometimes copy before you do a step, both with spline, revolve, and the shape sweeping. It erases the objects that you used in those methods. So if I select my cup and delete it, the line is deleted as well. So you would have needed to have a copy like I did if you wanted to go back and redo that before you revolve it. So we haven't done copy a lot in class, but it's pretty easy to do. You just select the object that you want to copy. Say I want to make a copy of this oval. On the Home tab, press the Copy tool, specify a base point. Any point really will work. It's just where you're picking it up from, and then you can make, several copies wherever you want to. If you want to specify a specific distance away from the original, you can just drag away in the direction that you want to make the copy, and then type in the value. So let's say I wanted to do 150 away. Enter. I moved it way over there. So copying is pretty easy. So I advise that you make copies of your lines before you do the steps of turning it from a 2D layer to a 3D layer. That way you don't lose your work and you can make some edits if you want to. Hopefully this is enough instruction, or even more than enough, for you to get started on your projects. The requirements are that it's a 3D cup when you're finished, and it has to have a cup and a handle. So you can either choose to try to copy something like I did, or you could just freehand make your own cup. Good luck.